I first encountered music through dance, I would say. Through dance, through the love of dance. It's my first passion. I grew up in Australia. My mother's Turkish, my dad's Mexican, and we always had different music playing in the house. My mother's great uncle was a famous composer in Turkey, and her auntie was my mother's uncle was a composer. It's my great uncle. And her auntie was a pop star, and this was all in the 70s. And I think, and also I learned recently that my grandmother also studied at the Conservatorium of Music. And so I didn't realize how much music ran in her family, and she always had it, my mum always had it in our house one way or another. My sister and I were put into dance classes. We studied ballet, tap, and then eventually jazz. I started around the age of 7, I want to say, about 7 years old. And, you know, my dream was to be a backup dancer for Janet Jackson. So I used to stand in front of my house and I'd make up dance routines to Michael Jackson's music, to the Thriller album and anything else. And that's where my passion for music came about. But it wasn't until I was 14 that I fell in love with the art of songwriting and writing my own raps. And I encountered hip hop, I think, around the age of 12, 13 through the radio, through mainstream culture, you know, just what was going on in the early 90s. And, you know, De La Soul's Ring 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 was on the radio, and there was always a rap in the middle of a song. I remember they used to call it the rap version. But anyway, so I was at 14 when I wrote my first rhyme and discovered the art of this self-expression and fell in love with that. And for me, it was therapeutic. It was a way to process things going on in my life. The biggest thing for me was my parents' divorce when I was 12, and it gave me an outlet. I was able to just write all my feelings down and just channel it through the music, which you don't think that you're doing at that age. You're not going, well, this is a great outlet for myself. You know, you're just doing it. It's not until later on when you're an adult that you get to look back and reflect on, you know, what was happening to you. I think I loved hip hop, not just the rapping element, but also the dancing element. And, you know, it was something that I felt really confident with. And I felt like I was at home with it, and I've thought about that, and I thought, well, probably because I'm come from a multicultural family where we're in another land of a different culture. So hip hop was a home. It was a place where I could fit in, and it was the place of the other, where the other existed. Artivist to me literally means artist and activist, you know, meshed together. I think I've always been an artivist, and what I love, you know, there was a recent quote that has been going online that Alicia Keys posted, John Legend said in his Oscar speech, by Nina Simone, which is, the job of the artist is to reflect the times, the current times, something along the lines of that. And, you know, and I felt so good watching them deliver their speech, Common and John Legend, because finally, today's artists are using that platform to create positive social change. And that's what it means to me. Artivism means an artist who uses their art to create positive social change. And it doesn't just mean in music. It could be in films, like Kimberly Bautista, who has Artivista Films, and she creates documentaries. It could be through visual arts. It could be through dancing and choreography, like my friend Cara Mack, who just recently put on a whole show and a whole dance ensemble revolving around this idea that Black Lives Matter, you know, and what's happening in Ferguson. It was her answer to that. And so, you know, I think it's so important, especially for these mainstream artists who have that access. They have access to politicians, they have access to people, they have access to media, so they have a space where they can make a difference. And, you know, what else are you in it for? I don't understand how to be any other way as an artist. Like, I understand there's there's room for entertaining and kind of providing an escape for people, because people need to forget about their problems for a little bit and sort of, you know, enjoy life. And I have a song for that. That's a song called Rico. So I get that point, and my mum tells me that too. You know, sometimes it's not all about, you know, inciting people and politics. It's just about having fun and enjoying life, enjoying the moment. I said, yeah, but also within that though, there's the other side, and it's a balance. It's the yin and yang. It shouldn't always be all of one. And that, but I also feel like there's activism even in the art of celebrating, even in the act of hoping. There's activism there, because you're aware. You're going against what your reality is, or what people are saying your reality is. And I'm fully a believer of perception, that everything is what's so, and it's all about how we perceive what's happening, and it's all about the meaning that we give to things.
We wanted to say enough is enough. And what I'm talking about is the way that women are portrayed in our media, in music videos, in television shows. I'm not a pretty little picture perfect princess, wearing purpose shining in a pink dress, dancing in a stress on a track, perfect for a night shining on. I'm not a delicate little dainty little brown, or to the break to be empowered, sitting great, wishing on a stop for someone else to make my dreams come true. I'm not your chocolate dumpster man, I'm not your teenage dream, I'm not gonna make it clap for you.
How I think artivism will evolve is that more people will be involved and will see it that way and will participate. And I think that's one of the reasons why we started Artivist Entertainment, which is a company started by my husband Aloe Black, Quetzal Flores, Veronica Gonzalez, and Alberto Lopez. And we intend to just create this community. Well, there's already a community created. What we're doing is creating a brand, is creating a name to it, where we can support other artists that are like-minded, where we can help them however we can for them to continue to be artivists. You know, with more access and visibility that Aloe's getting, we really wanted to parlay that into something, and to use that momentum in a way that benefits community. So that's why we created Artivist Entertainment.
What advice would you give to aspiring artivists, like students like us who are taking classes here, and the students that Professor Payan is teaching in Seattle? And
you know, I feel like you're already doing it. You guys are aware. It's a term that some people don't like to use, is conscious, you know, because what does that mean? You're unconscious if you're not that way. But in hip hop, we say, you know, he's a conscious MC. You know, when you're switched on to this stuff and you're already critiquing, you're already analyzing, and you're aware of that everything you have, everything that you do has a place within a bigger picture, and has a meaning and a context, and you're aware of the context, and you're always sort of searching of ways to make it better for society, make it, you know, in whatever way you want to channel that, whether that's, you know, equal pay for women, you know, that whole thing of equal rights, equal pay, or if you wanted to talk about the incarceration rates and you wanted to channel it that way, or, you know, there's a million causes that you could support, but the fact that you're already thinking about that, and you're thinking of that in life, even if you're not an artist, whatever it is that you do, just by living that, I don't know, my advice is to just be, is to be it, and that's the change, that's the evolution.
You talked a lot about where you drew your inspiration from starting out in Australia, but where do you draw your inspiration from now? Has that changed at all?
Yeah, you know, now I think I'm drawing much more inspiration from articles I read, documentaries I see, movies I see, things that happen in our society. That's where my inspiration comes from these days. and also personal things that are happening to me. Like one of my songs, Inshallah, that I'll perform tonight is about becoming a mother.
I will look into your eyes. One day I will hear your first cry. Shelter you from the world outside. You'll always be my joy and pride. With unconditional love and affection, an undeniable spiritual connection. And on the day you arrive, I lift you up to the sky and sing, Inshallah, 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 Inshallah. That's what my mama said, Inshallah, Inshallah.
But then a song that I wrote for the Entre Mujeres album, Chocolate, was about slave labor. And that was based off of a book I read called Not for Sale, and then also a documentary I saw from the BBC, which was about a young boy in a cocoa field. And I watched that with tears running down my face, and the only way I could process it, going back to my childhood of I gotta do, the only way to deal with things is to write it down, was to write a song about it. And that's how I felt I could contribute to this. Because I thought, am I going to get on a plane and go to that cocoa field? No. But can I tell people about it and open up their minds and think about the next time they buy a bar of chocolate, whose blood is in this chocolate? What corporations are making money off of slave labor? And be aware of that. Our purchases are our votes. Where we spend our money makes a vote, because that's all that matters. All these big corporations care about, or big companies care about, is their bottom line, is making money. They don't care about human rights. They really don't, because they turn a blind eye. Oh, we don't know. They can't tell you all the way back to the end of their supply chain if it's, slave-free or child labor-free. They can't tell you about all that stuff. So it's really about us becoming aware and just being active in that way at the supermarket. So my inspiration comes from lots of different places these days, and also listening to some older music too, going back to be inspired. But I'll say that there's something in that, there's something in this exchange, and that's what I love about being on stage. And it's not just an energy thing, or a meditation thing, because I feel like when I perform, I'm in meditation. But it's about interacting with other humans, face to face. And now, because it's a question and answer, now we actually get to discuss ideas and talk about things that I'll probably be enlightened, that people will get something out of my song that I never intended. And I'm glad that that happens, because that's what's supposed to happen, So that's what I'm personally looking forward to. But the one thing that I really do want to set the record straight with is my birth name. Because my birth name is on Wikipedia as Melissa Martinez. The truth is, my birth name is Melissa Martinez Jupiter. Jupiter is my mother's surname. In Mexico, we get two surnames. So my surname is Martinez Jupiter. Now, the reason this annoys the hell out of me is because whenever people write articles, they want to use your last name. And so they constantly refer to me as Martinez. And I think, how dare you? Why do you think it's okay to choose my father's surname over my mother's surname when I've personally chosen my mother's surname? So that's what's really annoying, and they think it's a made-up name. So the story behind my name, Melissa Martinez Jupiter, my mom's mother, my grandparents changed their name to Jupiter in Turkey, so that's how that came about. But it's only been in the family 2 generations, But Maya was a name that my mother wanted to give me, but didn't, because she felt pressure from the Mexican side, from our family, to not call me that. So she didn't. But I had a conversation with her when I was 17. I said, Mum, I need a rap name, and MC Mel is not going to cut it. And my whole life also was Melissa. No one ever used the H, but technically there's an H there. And she said, and that's the first time I ever knew that. And she said, I always wanted to call you Maya. And I said, really? And then she told me the story, and I said, well, Maya, MC Maya, that works. Later on, a few months later, she said, hey, why don't you use Jupiter? That's your name. Let the name live on. I said, you're right. MC Maya Jupiter, and then I cut the MC off. But that's the story of my name. I want to set it straight. Here it is. Wikipedia, please. But like I said, it's only frustrating when I keep getting referred to as Martinez. And I'm
That's
like,
not your full
fair.
name.
I'm like, well, that's not fair. Just because that's my dad's surname, but
Right.
it's equally my mom's surname. You patriarchal society.